Hello, this is David Molloy here with Milk Crate again for another online film workshop. So I wanted to kind of run through some basics just to sort of get everyone on board with how to make your video work look a bit more cinematic, look a bit more film-esque, and not like kind of garbo junk. So kind of real, basic stuff. I have attached to this a guide on how to use DSLR cameras, which is available to Lisa and Margot. So they have access to that. If anyone needs that guide, feel free to access it. It's really straightforward, and particularly if you have a DSLR camera, it's going to be really, really useful. So the basic tools that you have as a filmmaker are motion and light. That's kind of the easiest way to think about it. Anything that you are recording on a camera is light information that is coming into the camera. I mean, you can see with this particular camera, like the light information is changing because it's sort of automatically adjusting. So it's going from cold to warm and the colors are shifting all over the place. It's because I'm using a laptop camera and not micro-controlling all of these things. Anytime that you have automatic settings on any camera that you are using, it's going to do stuff like this because it is trying as best it can to just get basic clarity. It's just trying to, make things visible. Whereas when you're sort of telling a story or making an artwork, you want to have that little bit more control so that you can make things look the way you want them to look. So essentially all of your controls are to do with light and the way that it's interpreted by the camera. So for that, you should have a simple understanding of color temperature. So we've just talked about warm and cold. That's kind of the easiest way to talk about it. Right now I can see myself, I'm looking quite warm. There's the more yellow, orange, red tones. I mean, the fact that this wall here is red helps with that. I think if I cover this, I will get now we've got a bit colder. So that kind of changes the feeling of the shot that we're looking at. So if you're looking for, warmth and emotional depth, then you probably want a warmer color. And if you're looking for something a bit more cold, procedural, maybe frightening, then better to stick to the colder end of the spectrum. And you can mess around with these settings in your white balance on whatever your device is. The next is straightforward, light. You need light. Even if you're shooting things that are in very dark settings, then you need to have some sort of illumination for the key details. When we're talking about movie lighting or even just kind of your standard corporate video work, the standard setup is a 3 lighting setup. So you have 3 lights. You have your key light. So this is the main light. This would be, in my case, the sun. The key light is the main light that is lighting the main subject, i.e. me. Then you have your fill light. We don't really have a fill light in here, but let's say I get my phone up and running. Now I've got a fill light. So you can see that there's more detail across the whole of my face. If this was a corporate video, then this is kind of the lighting that you want, so that you can see the entire expression and you don't have this sort of shadow, this sort of noir thing going on. There's your fill light. Then you have your backlight. So this is when you light from behind. Generally you want it to be just like off the camera, so it'll be over here. And what this does, you can't really see in this shot. Maybe it's best when I sort of do it like that. You can start to see a little bit of that illumination around the back. Now you don't want it to be that strong. You just want it to be a little bit. And what that does is it lifts your subject off the background just a touch. So it kind of isolates them from just being part of the scenery. That's how you do 3-point lighting. Keep in mind, of course, you don't have to do 3-point lighting. Maybe you don't have access to 3 different light sources where you are. There are plenty of filmmakers who use natural light wherever they are, just as I'm doing now, like Fellini. Using something to reflect a light source is also really helpful. If you're using sort of more professional filmmaking kit, you'll use a reflector, a device that is specifically made for this, just a big disc that you can use to bounce light onto different surfaces. But you can use anything that's kind of semi-reflective or bright, so you can use a white piece of paper to bounce light. You could use plates. You can use anything really that has a bit that catches light and has a bit of a shine to it. You can use that to bounce light onto surfaces. The last thing is kind of a bit of a pretentious art thing, but it's a proven rule and it works, so I'm going to stick with it anyway. It's called the rule of thirds. So what the rule of thirds does is it reduces where the eye is drawn to in an image to a kind of mathematical equation. So you'll see on the screen now that the screen is split into a grid, and we've split it into thirds. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Cool, easy peasy, that's it. Now, essentially what that's saying is if I'm dead center, it's not always sort of the most interesting way to frame a subject. Maybe if you're Wes Anderson, this could work. But for the most part, like, putting me dead center like that, kind of, there's a lot of space above me that doesn't really have any information there, and there's a lot of space below me that, again, doesn't really, I'm cut off at a weird spot in the video here. So, I'm putting my eyes on this upper grid level, or close enough to, and that means, like, the eye of the viewer is drawn to that point. That's a focal point. You can use the corners on this grid as focal points. So if I stand over here and then we put videos up here, that works. That's another sort of like, this is nice. And now we've got this space here that can be filled with information, like this lovely hanging plant. It could be down here just to be a little bit weirder. So you can use that sort of rule of thirds to kind of dictate how you film your shots, just so that you don't have all of this empty space that you're, not making good use of. It's all about framing your shot the way a painter does. You are choosing the composition of your image, and you could be using the most basic camera of all time and still take beautifully framed shots because you're using the rule of thirds and you're paying attention to where things are in your frame. Now, this is a really great bit of natural crossover because the prompt that Margot has given for week 8 features superpowers. This is something that Felicity and I were working with in our workshops with Evolve Housing for Youth. And it's something that I kind of wanted to address and come back to this time around, especially because you're making work in isolation, you're probably making work with limited equipment, and it's kind of all about, how you can apply your imagination to achieve things simply. So when we're talking about superpowers, I'm not suggesting that each of you submit some sort of like Avengers Endgame finale battle. What you can do with this exercise is to try and think of sort of like the more mundane aspects of the story. So if you're a superhero at home, how do your powers assist you in kind of day-to-day living? Or more interestingly for me anyway, how do they hinder you? If you're someone like Cyclops from the X-Men, how do you, walk around your house constantly wearing sunglasses? Do you bump into stuff because you're trying desperately not to burn the precious things that you own and value? It's a good way of humanizing these superhero characters because they're often so alien in their incredible capabilities. And I think what we need right now is a bit of a sense of everyday heroism, and your ways of just getting through your day-to-day, and particularly this tricky isolation period. Some questions you can ask yourself here are, why would a hero be in isolation? Why would they choose this? Why would they be forced into it? Think about your location. So you could be shooting in your house, wherever you're staying. You could be shooting in a park or a nearby area, as long as you're social distancing. You could be using any of your surroundings, and it doesn't matter how mundane the surroundings are. To give you an example of lighting, rule of thirds, all of the stuff that I've talked about, I've been obsessing over No Country for Old Men recently, which is one of my favorite movies. And I think this scene is incredible because it uses super minimal dialogue to establish the relationship between these two characters. It uses the setting, which is incredibly mundane. It's literally just a petrol station and two people having a conversation over the counter. It uses the setting to create a sense of tension and a sense of atmosphere. Pay really close attention when the station attendant is standing in front of his desk. You can see all of these like little sort of circular things hanging behind his head, and that, in my mind, sort of creates, these tightening nooses around his neck, and like paints the image that he's in danger of some kind. So that's really, really clever use of a mundane environment to tell something interestingly in the story. The other things it uses really effectively are space and silence. I think the tendency when you're making creative things, particularly for the first time, is to, fill every moment with noise and action. Like, you've got so much going on. Oh my goodness. And you can do so much with a little patience. To just leave some space and some silence between words and action and dialogue. And it can also be hysterical. You could have your hero doing something that they've clearly flubbed. They've clearly made some terrible mistake, probably due to their superpower. Maybe they've ruined something they're cooking, or they've broken an appliance. And just the silence around that speaks volumes, because I think we all know that, internal emotional space of being frustrated with things. So that's basically it. Once again, if you have any questions, particularly about editing or camera use, or you just want to talk shop about making video and, the process of creating in this new environment, then feel free to get in touch with me through Milkrate. And I am really excited to see what you guys can come up with. Peace.